trunks, they ever ready. Assault and battery, if you scared, you never ready.
Okay, today's video is going to be about Eddie Guerrero, and I'm sure everyone knows by now, today is the 8-year anniversary of his passing. The main reason I wanted to come on here and talk about it is because I had been on YouTube since 2007. And I think that is really the high peak of what the YWC really was. You had a who's who of guys from Gemini to Spinnernet, RVD Tito for Life, Crazy Mike, MB Wrestler, just to name a few, True Slayer. All these guys were on in 2007, and everyone else was in the comment section, and they put on videos on a daily to weekly basis. And there was an event in 2007 that really shook the wrestling world and really made the wrestling world stand still, in that being of Chris Benoit. But I think another guy who made the wrestling world stand still was Eddie Guerrero, and the day he passed on November 13th, 2005, but in a totally different way. You had Benoit, where everyone was in shock because it was his whole family dying, and once all the news came out that it was a double murder-suicide, it was more like a holy shit kind of thing, that like, how can a guy do something like that? Where Eddie Guerrero, you saw him wrestle on SmackDown, you saw the heel turn to the face turn with Batista, and you saw him, be Eddie Guerrero again, be that guy who was so likable and just put on great matches and whatever. Even to this day, it was like, you knew how good he really was, even to the most uneducated fan like myself. At 15 years old, I wasn't on the internet. I didn't know what dirt sheets really were. I was watching Raw and SmackDown, and whatever happened on those shows was as far as my wrestling knowledge really went. And you knew even then, like, as he was just that good, from his promos to playing a bad guy and playing a good guy. And just an example, it was like my MSN, this is how far back we're going. My MSN display picture was of Eddie Guerrero's lowrider, and when he turned heel, when he brainbusted Rey Mysterio on the steps, I took that picture and I put it on paint, and I put Eddie Sucks over the spray painted car, and that was my display picture until he turned face again, and then just take off that Eddie Sucks, and back at it. Guerrero was one of my favorite wrestlers at that time, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I think everyone has a story about where they were when Eddie Guerrero died, and just like everyone has a story about where they were on September 11th, 2001, everyone asks you, or everyone says that you'll never forget where you were, and I can tell you, like, right off the bat where I was, what class I was in. That's pretty much why I want to come on here, is gonna share my story, because it was 2005, I was in English class. It was first period. My bus would pick me up at 7:25. I would get to school around 7:45. I would always be the first one in class. Class started at 10 after 8. I would go upstairs, sit down, eat my breakfast, and then people would start coming in around 7:55. And a guy named Derek walks in the class, and in the most sarcastic voice possible, I'll never forget, he said, "Hey, did you hear about Eddie Guerrero?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "He's dead." That's exactly the word. He's dead. Eddie's dead. I'm like, well, I kind of no-played it because I know he's a joker kind of guy. I thought he was just trying to get a reaction out of me. So I kind of blew him off, whatever, this guy's out of his mind. He's like, "No, seriously, like, go downstairs and check, like, on the computer. Eddie's dead." And he's laughing about it too. He's like kind of chuckling about it. So I go downstairs and www.com, and lo and behold, the headline, Eddie Guerrero was found this morning in his hotel room in Minnesota by his nephew Chavo Guerrero. And it was like time froze, your heart sank, and it was like I was in shock sitting there. I was like, what the hell's going on? And you didn't know what to do. I went upstairs and I just sat there and I look at him, and he knew that I knew now, and we were both big fans at the time. I don't know, he doesn't watch anymore. Damn. You really don't know what to think about that, because even though I didn't know him, it was kind of like you see him on a weekly basis. I saw him on SmackDown just a couple days prior, and now he's gone. And was it a storyline? Was it this? Was it that? And just like the Benoit thing, a lot of people, I thought it was a storyline because you had Vince dying just the week before, and this week you have Benoit dying, so it's like, there's a little road of things going on. And Eddie, is as crazy as it sounds, to me, it could have been a storyline. Eddie Guerrero's known as the guy who likes to cheat and lie. Maybe he's cheating and lying is about his death. I don't know. Anything to believe that he wasn't actually gone. So Raw came on. Triple H, John Cena, Rey Mysterio, Chavo Guerrero, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. All these guys are crying. and it was a weird sight to see. And then came what was it, the Johnny Cash tribute video they played for him, and that's like when it hit home. It was like you get that little feeling inside you. I would not blame you for crying, especially after that video. And then another thing that really hit home for me was seeing Batista right after that Big Show and Kane match. Just a guy who was on top of the world. This is the 305-pound beast, and he's just broken down. He can't even talk. And I was like, man, like that's bad. Like this is how hard it hit for everyone that Eddie Guerrero was really gone. Because I didn't know who he was, but being 15 and being so naive to everything, like I said, I was your typical normal fan. I wasn't on the dirt sheets. I wasn't smart to wrestling yet. Everyone bought the tribute t-shirts, the armbands. They were a big thing. And I remember talking to Legend Killer about it, and he was a huge Eddie Guerrero fan, and it was hit home for him just as much as it did for me, and I'm sure it did for everyone. I think Eddie Guerrero was definitely one of the most beloved superstars of all time, and I think everyone had a connection to him in one way or another. Pretty much my story. Leave yours, I don't know, video response, comments. But yeah, that's all, and I'll see you guys in the next video.